Alright guys, today we will be working on my Honda Recon 250 two-wheel drive and replacing the front brake shoe adjuster.
We've already had this apart a while back when we bought it used. Wanted to give a good thorough check over before we went out of state to West Virginia and make sure we had good brakes. And we found that the adjuster was stuck, so we knew we needed to get into it. We couldn't adjust. It was braking okay at the time, or braking plenty fine anyway. But we knew that we'd have to get this thing replaced so we could adjust out the shoes that they've been wearing some. And in any case, we're getting back into it. So you want to go ahead and get those lugs off, buddy? This is 17 millimeter socket for these lugs. Okay. All right, buddy, can you go ahead and take that wheel and so it's been a little while since we've worked on this, and we couldn't even remember which side it was anymore. So we had to do a little bit of testing with our hands and hold the brakes and see if we could twist the wheel. And this one we actually could force it to move even when the brakes were being held tightly. So we went ahead and pulled the wheel off, and we popped open the adjuster plug and rotated it around to the adjuster. Gave it a test, and that's definitely the one that's stuck. She will not move at all. So we knew which one we needed to take apart. Save a little bit extra time. And we're going to reuse this cotter pin, even though you should replace them when you get in here. This was brand new. We replaced it last time because the original one was looking a little weak. So it turns out the 27 millimeter, I think last time we just used an adjustable wrench. It really shouldn't be tight. It's not supposed to be that tight. And I don't know if there's a torque spec for that or not, but if there is, we don't know it. They just really need to be snugged up well and then line up and get the pin in. So, alright. And I know sometimes people in their videos kind of rehearse these things and get them out, but we haven't had this apart before, so we're all going to kind of practice this together. See a couple different angles of attack here. Get in there. Okay, the part itself is threaded. So the bolts that are holding it on the back side of the brake assembly. adjustable. Open end, I guess, for everything. Things what's nice about Honda is that they keep it pretty simple. Really, everything that they do. They don't ever try to reinvent the wheel. Probably only 4 sizes of bolt on this thing total. So that's a 12, and there's a 10. So not enough room to. Hey buddy, can you twist the handlebars forward from the other side there? Pull that one all the way back then. Yeah. Pass me those cutters. Yeah. I went ahead and ordered springs for this. I don't think that they were needed, but I knew that let's see if we can put it right on there. Off of that. Honestly, we'll probably end up reusing that spring likely if we can get it put back on. We'll just save those. We'll save those new springs with those new brake shoes when we do a complete overhaul, and just replace all of the components with new ones. And there may be some shortcuts sometimes if you remove a few various things. It can make it easier to get access, but I'd rather take less stuff apart and use a few different tools, even if it means a few extra twists of a wrench. This thing's threading so easily with my fingers, I just can't get my fingers on it. Did not feel like it was very tight when I took it apart. And we'll show you the new part in a minute, but it feels like it may have been cast aluminum. So you do want to be careful about not over tightening cast aluminum, because it'll pull the threads and just strip it out real easy. And there may be a torque spec on these that we don't have on hand, but this is a 2014 and it's February 2020, so if what feels like the 10 foot-pounds of torque, not much more than a good snugging, held these on for that long, I think we'll be safe to do the same. This is what ladies should get access to. So as you can see, I already pulled the spring off, took the tension off the shoes, and we've already been in here, like I said before, so we knew there was still material on the shoes. We knew we didn't need to do the brakes now, even though we have We have new ones in our stock. So there's the old adjuster. We do a lot of river crossings and deep water and out-of-state riding, and a lot of these things are just totally submerged. The guy we bought this from does the same. We know him. Knew him before we bought it. He bought it brand new, but it's likely this thing just being submerged a few times gave up the ghost. And see the part number here. Make sure we have some good light on that. 45340-HB3-003. This is original Honda part. Made in Japan. Always like that. I always like to do a good visual comparison before I even open a brand new part, and we've already done that to make sure, but it's a brand new Nissan part, so is the old one. So it's an identical match. The original we couldn't adjust out at all from factory. I mean, it basically some point early on in its life had been submerged and already was not willing to adjust out. So there's a lot of good brake shoe left on here that we like to use, so we're going to go ahead and leave them on and just put the new adjuster in here. We can all move on. Now, there's no thread locker on here originally, so I'm not going to put any on. I do always like to check for that, especially because it helps us prevent situations out of state where you don't really want to be spending time working on machines or really be out in the 400,000 acre wilderness and have something come apart on you. Not to mention that safety, potential safety. So I'm not going to snug that one yet. I think we'll just get the other one started if we can here. The other side. It's already a tight glove. Just removing that gives me just enough. I like to get things mostly threaded in with my fingers, obviously, to not cross thread or strip, but also it's just way faster than, especially in this case, using an open end wrench. So it's already snug. A little bit more. And that may be a touch more than was on it. I'm okay with that. I don't think it's enough that I'm worried at all about stripping anything. I was really glad that it was only the adjuster here, because the actual brake cylinder there, a little bit different monster. You're removing the brake line, bleeding it. A little bit more complicated than what we've got to do here, so. A little bit more there. so. And quite a bit of this might not be perhaps as clean as could have been. Say if it had been done in advance, for example, but I quite honestly don't have time to do things twice. We had some idea what we needed to do, knew it wasn't that complex. So get that spring back on there, and like I said, this is the original brakes. We'll ride them until we feel like we got everything out of them, and then we'll do a complete overhaul. But for now, it's nice to just keep those new parts in the box for an emergency out of state. No one wants to do a brake job trail side, so we usually check them out good before we go anywhere. We've got one coming up here in a couple of months. It's kind of why we're trying to get a jump on this. Going to be back in West Virginia, so make sure we have good brakes. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on, get a little bit of a feel for what we have. Got a little dirt in there. That got in there. Figure it out. We put a little bit of grease on the spindle last time just to make sure that nothing wanted to stick on us. It's too much trouble. I don't know what it is about that rubber. That awful sound is just that rubber on that back plate. It just sounds terrible sometimes. We already did this once, but I kind of need it again already. Just gonna clean up that edge where those two come together. Get some of the dirt and sand and grit. And we've been in the dunes in Michigan and Indiana. There's some basically an old gravel quarry there, I think. That was pretty nasty. Anyway, trying to clean up this rubber seal pretty good. Just get rid of the contaminants right now. I mean, it doesn't need to be. I don't plan on hosing it off. Just trying to wipe all any of the contaminants that are kind of want to grind on it. Still gonna make that terrible noise, but be alright. Still have the plug removed, but we can go ahead and work on the adjusters right now. make an actual adjuster tool for this. I have this cheap pry tool. I use like a set of 3 different sizes. This one works pretty good for working on these. It's pretty much the same on the end as the actual adjuster tool. I usually try to get these to where they feel tight and then just back them off where they're not quite touching. I don't know if you can hear him. Feel that guy, just a half click back and he's loose. So that's what I always go for. Sorry if my head's blocking the way, but need to get an eye in there. Make this process a little bit quicker. Going the wrong way. That feels pretty good. As soon as you get into that. And these are hydraulic drums, so it's pretty smooth braking. Get the plug put back in there. I would never use an impact to put one of these on, honestly. I'll probably just use my hand here, to be honest. If we, you can pass me that ratchet there. I'm just going to get just a little bit more. Just enough to get the pin in. Like I said, typically you'd want to use new cotter pin, but this one's not very old. So, you know, we ended up doing that with a pair of side cuts, a little pry tool or a star adjuster tool, brake adjuster tool, 10mm open end wrench. I think it was a 27mm for that spindle nut there. The lug on the wheel was a 17mm, just to kind of summarize what you need for this job. But I think we're ready to put the wheel back on here. So roll it in, buddy. And then you want to go ahead and do the lug nuts, remember to
Yep.
get one on there just to hang it. Alright, go ahead and get another one going. You know what, I'll rotate to you. Alright, go ahead and get that next one going. Again, good idea to finger thread on a lot of these. Go ahead and give this a little bit more, hold on. I always like to jiggle these to set that tapered nut. Jiggle the wheel while you're turning, you can always get more out of it, and it'll center up that.
Are we torquing these?
Yeah. We don't know the torque spec on the studs, but we've been running about 50 pounds on the other quads, and that seems to work pretty good. So I'm going to go let that jack down. And then hold the brakes for us, buddy.
Dad.
Hold the brakes for us, bud.
Dad.
So we'll set these at 50 pounds. And I'll tell you what, we dig that up. We'll put it in the description what the actual torque is. But 50 pounds has never failed us. And more importantly, you know, a lot of people don't really pay attention to a lot of torque specs anyway, but I found that a lot of these are important, especially trail side. Sometimes you don't have the right tools, just hand tools, and, you know, making sure that you get a bolt off is the difference of being able to fix something out in the trail or not. So anyway, that's it. We replaced the brake adjuster on there, and now we're able to adjust it out and should have good brakes on all four wheels, not just three. So that's all. We'll obviously be back with more videos of different and various things from different quads, for sometimes just fixing, sometimes modding, but be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks.